Hey guys, and welcome to another Escape Wheel watch review. Today we're looking at the Corgeut Seamaster 300 Homage. So this is a watch that has been around for about 10 years actually. I found a thread on this thing dating back to 2010, and I remember wanting this watch for the longest time, but I've never pulled the trigger on it, and I'll tell you why I did in just a little bit. So you can pick this up on AliExpress, and the prices range anywhere from about $90 to about $105 right now, and that depends on the movement you get. So you do have 3 options of movement, 2 options of color, and 2 options for the layout of this. So first off, the movement options, you have a seagull movement, you've got the Miyota 8215, and then recently they've upgraded this to the Seiko NH35, which is what this one is running. And that's the main reason I ended up picking this up finally. The color options you have this really dark blue, which you see here, and then you have black. And then the layout options, you have a 24-hour bezel with a lollipop second hand. And then you have this one, which is the typical 60-minute counter with an arrowhead second hand. So nice that you get some options. And yeah, they also sell this on the stainless steel bracelet that you see here. And then they sell it on NATOs, they sell it on leather. So yeah, I guess just pick and choose and yeah, you'll find something that you like. So I think the value of this with the NH35 is pretty good. $90 is kind of the upper low end, I guess, when you have Paganis that are, you know, with the NH35 that are $75 to $80. So I definitely think you're paying a little bit for the looks of this thing because it does look really good. But yeah, it's got some issues with it, so we'll get to all those throughout the review. But let's jump into it first off with the dimensions. So these are listed as 41 millimeters, and I'm not really sure where they're getting that from. So when I measure, I get 41.7, so it's almost 42 millimeters. That's on the bezel. If you measure the case itself from the bottom, it's actually 40 millimeters. So yeah, I'm not sure where that 41 comes from. You've got a thickness of 13.4 millimeters. You've got a lug width of 20 millimeters. And then you've got an overall length of 49.9. And because this is using female end links on the bracelet, that's what it wears as, 49.9. So pretty good size dimensions, I think. A little bit long on the lug to lug, but I think it looks really good. So the case finishing on this is really nicely done, I think. The top of the lugs are a polished surface. Then you've got brush surfaces on the side, which are really nicely done, I think, actually. Actually pretty impressed with the brushing on this thing. And then you've got this nice polished chamfer right there that you can see that runs on the transition from the brush to the polished surface. Looks really good. The ends of the lugs are polished, as you can see there. The case back, nicely done. Exhibition case back showing off that NH35. It says stainless steel, sapphire crystal, and water resistance. This watch is 100 meters water resistant, which is nice to see. The bottom of the lugs are polished, and the case back itself is a circular brushing. And the case back has your typical notches just to get a tool in there, just to unscrew it. Nice and easy, very simple to use. I definitely prefer that. So yeah, it's I think the case finishing, it's done really nicely. The polishing is done really well, and the brushing is really, really nicely done, I think. I'm very happy with the case finishing on this thing. And you can see, so that it was 13.5 millimeters thick, but the actual lug profile here, it's very, very thin. So it wears a lot thinner than that 13.5 millimeters. And that's one of the things I really like about this. So I'm going to go outside and slap this on the wrist for you. So here it is on my 7 1/4 inch wrist. You can see it works pretty well still. The turn down to the lugs really helps. There you go. Hugs the wrist nicely, nice and thin looking. It's 13.5 millimeters thick, but I mean, it looks a lot thinner than that. Tons of shine from that ceramic bezel. Lots and lots of reflections off the top of those lugs, but I think it looks really, really good still. But I'm going to go inside, we'll throw this on some more straps, and we'll get back to the review. So here it is on a single pass navy and khaki. You can see it looks really, really good. Matches the dial and the indices nicely. Yeah, it's probably one of my favorite straps for this thing. And now you can see with the sunlight, there you go. So the glare isn't horrible, but definitely could be better. But yeah, I think that looks really, really good. Let's go inside and get another strap on it. So here it is on a Vario vintage leather, gray leather with kind of a cream color stitching. Looks really good, I think. Really like this combo. It's very comfortable too. But you can see, I mean, the way this thing wears is just awesome. Nice and thin. Yeah, I really like, that's the one thing that I take away from this thing is that it wears so well. So yeah, let's go back inside. We'll get back to this review. Okay, so let's talk about the bezel on this. So it is a 120 click unidirectional. Nice and clicky sounds, good resistance, maybe a little bit tough, but it has loosened up in the week or so that I've had this. So not too bad there. My only real complaint about it, you don't have any like bounce or wobble to the bezel. It's nice and solid in there. But one thing I have a problem with is, so you see there, it's pretty much on that 12, but you can back bounce this thing almost a minute and a half. So now look at it. So you almost have to go a full click past the spot that you need to time and then roll it back. Once it's in this spot, I mean, it's rock solid. It doesn't bounce, it doesn't wiggle or anything like that. The bezel itself, lots and lots of grip with that coin edge bezel, nice and thin, so it's got that nice vintage look to it. It is a ceramic bezel insert with engraved minute counters. It looks really good. I think they've done a good job with the printing on it and everything like that. In some extreme lighting, you can see little black specks on this model. And I think that's a trait of just the blue bezel. So if you get the black bezel, it's not gonna do that. But just something to know. You don't really notice it in real life. It's just in like extreme lighting, and if you look for it, you'll see it. So I'll pop up a macro of that right now. So yeah, it's not bad. The crystal on this is actually pretty nicely double-domed sapphire crystal. It does have a nice chamfer running around the edge, and it does protrude ever so slightly from the bezel. It looks really good. It does pick up lots of reflections, as you would expect. There's no anti-reflective coating, but you kind of expect that at this price point. But it does look really good, I think. And zooming way in on that dial, it's a really nicely done sandwich dial. It's got a texture to the top surface, and then the bottom surface is loomed with this vintage colored loom. It looks really good. I'm very happy with it. I was a little worried about the color mismatching the hands. It is just ever so slightly off, but it's not something you really notice. And I'm really happy with the way they match those. So actually really, really nicely done, I think. The printing, the numerals, and the minute track is done really well. The date cutout, I think, is done nicely. It's nicely centered. The handset on this, it's actually pretty nice. Polished and faceted. It plays with the light nicely. It's perfectly sized, I think. You can see the minute hand reaches all the way out to the outer minute track there. Same with the second hand. Really happy with that. Now, I'm going to note one thing on this thing. The Corgeut and the automatic chronometer, they're not printed very good. So when I bought this, they weren't advertising this with a printed dial. So I don't know if that's something they did afterwards or what the deal. If this is how they all come, I'm going to be pretty disappointed. I'm hoping they don't. So I'm going to zoom way in on this Corgeut printing, and look at that. It's just not good at all. And I also think it's a little crooked. So I'm just guessing that's something that they printed afterwards, and that's why it's not perfect. Because I mean, all the other printing is spot on, so I'm not sure what's going on with that. And it's the same thing with the automatic chronometer. It's almost like a double printed there. So yeah, just something to keep in mind. Honestly, on the wrist, you don't really notice it at all. Take that for what it is. I think it'll be fine if they advertise this with the printed dial. I think you'll be happy with it. And let's talk about that chronometer. So this technically is a chronometer. If you look up the definition of chronometer, it's a time-telling machine. And that's what this is. So I know it's not officially certified chronometer. It's not COSC certified, whatever. So yeah, I guess it is a slightly false printing, but it's technically not wrong. It is a chronometer. So yeah, it doesn't bother me that it's on the dial. And like I mentioned, all this vintage loom here, it's a two-tone loom. So I'm going to pop up a loom shot right now. You can see the Corgeut in the middle. It's got the blue loom on the dial and green loom on the hands. And the hands hold on really, really well, I think. I think they are C3 loomed, but the dial really fades pretty quickly. You can see it compared to a San Martin sub on the left and Pagani sub on the right hand side. So that kind of gives you an idea of how the loom performs on this thing. It's not great, but the hands on this hold on really, really good, I think. So like I mentioned earlier, the movement in this is the Seiko NH35. It's got 40 hours of power reserve, 6 ticks per second, hacks, hand winds. It does everything you need it to do. It's operated by this 3 o'clock crown. You can see it's unsigned, polished. It's a good size, plenty of grip. You get a satisfying pop out. Yeah, I've had no issues with the movement in this. It's been pretty accurate. I think it's 8 seconds a day fast for me, so really happy with that. The threading on the crown, it's not the best, but it's not horrible. You really got to find the right spot. You really got to wind it back to find the right spot, and then you can screw it in. So could be better, but it's really not that bad. So let's talk about the bracelet on this. So you have a 3-link, solid links, solid end links, female links, which are really nice. You got center polished and outside brushed, and then the sides of the brushed links are actually polished as well. You do have push pins here for adjusting. People rag on these push pins, but they're super easy to use. So I have no real problems with them, I guess. You do have a butterfly clasp here, which actually operates pretty good. I've been overall pretty happy with it. No complaints with the butterfly clasp, actually. You do also have half links for adjusting, so that's nice to see. You can get the perfect fit on this thing. My only real complaint about the bracelet is you can see some of the finishing on these links here. I noticed this on Steel Dive as well. These push pins, they've got just a little bit of a groove, I guess. It makes me kind of think that the push pin links are not solid, but I really can't confirm or deny that. And then the only other negative I see is the end of this first link is not polished. So if they polish that, it would be perfect, because sometimes I think this is going to hang down almost straight down on some people because this is so, 50 millimeter lug to lug. On me, you don't really notice it too bad, but I still do notice it. So I might take this apart and try and polish that up a little bit. But that's really the only complaint with the bracelet. It's nice and solid. It doesn't rattle around too much, there's no rattle to it. So I'm actually pretty impressed with the bracelet. And you can see here, it's nice and fluid. I didn't have any of the links like hang up on each other or anything like that. So very comfortable bracelet. And I think it looks pretty good. Even though I'm not a huge fan of these polished links, you can see already I've got a scratch in one of these things. Right about there. Right in this link here. Got a nice big scuff on it. And that's the main reason I don't like these links, these polished center links, is they just scuff and get fingerprints all over them pretty much immediately. So it is what it is. I think it looks really good though. And it actually functions pretty well because you got those half links for adjusting. So overall, I'm pretty happy with the bracelet. I definitely think it's worth the upgrade if you like the look of it. I definitely think it's worth it to get the bracelet version. So let's talk about any quality control issues. I really didn't have many other than that weird printing on the dial. That's my only real quality control issue I have with this. Other than that, it came in really good. Everything lines up nicely. The screw down crown, it takes a little bit of fiddling, but overall not bad at all. I do really like the look of this thing. So there you have it. That's the Corgeut Seamaster 300 homage. Again, this is a watch that I've had on my radar for a very long time, and finally with the NH35 I think it's worth taking the plunge on it. And overall I've been really happy with it. I like the dial, I like the hands. I think they could have trimmed down the lug to lug just a little bit and it would be much better, but I think the look is really cool. That vintage lume with the black or blue dial is going to look great. The bracelet is very comfortable. So yeah, if you guys are interested in this, I'm going to leave a link down in the description. That is an affiliate link. Again, I really, really appreciate it when you guys use my links. So yeah, thank you so much for continuing to do that. It's really helping the channel. If you guys want to see some more pictures of this, maybe on some different straps, be sure to check out my Instagram. I'll leave that below. I like to throw on a bunch of different straps with these guys. So yeah, check that out. Give me a follow there too, because I usually post upcoming watches there before you guys even see them here. So yeah, be sure to check me out there. If you guys enjoyed the video, found it helpful, found it useful, leave me a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate that. If you haven't subscribed yet, I really appreciate a subscribe too. I'm getting really close to 1,000. I'll do a giveaway for 1,000 subscribers, and yeah, hopefully that'll happen pretty soon. So let me know what you guys think down in the description. You like this thing? You don't like it? Got any questions? Leave those down below as well, and I'll get back to you. But I think that's it. So thanks a lot for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya.